Hey there, friends. What's going on? David Potts with Song Notes here, and I just got an electric guitar. I got it a few weeks ago, and in this video, what I want to do is talk about the sort of level one starting experience, what it's like to go from 20 years of acoustic. I've learned a lot. I'm pretty happy with my acoustic skills, but with this, in many ways I didn't expect. I feel like I'm starting at square one. I'm like back to level one. There's a lot of things I don't know. And I didn't even know them until I have this thing. And I start to play certain things. I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound good. Or why are the strings buzzing? Or this or that or the other. So in this video, I want to do a quick inventory of all the things I wish I knew. And it's okay that I don't know these things. I'm not complaining or whining. It's really just me capturing these, sort of listing them off as a baseline. And I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. 3 reasons, I think. One is just to, again, get that baseline so I can look back at this a year from now or 5 years from now and be like, man, look how far I've come. I used to not know this stuff, and hopefully I'll have figured all these things out, right? The other thing is for you, if you're thinking of getting an electric guitar and you kind of want to know what it's like, especially if you're going from an acoustic world where you're solid with your acoustic chops and you're going to electric. If you're starting with square one like me here, I'm going to sort of show you the lay of the land for a total beginner, right? In case that's helpful. The third reason is in case any of you all out there are electric gurus enough to give me any feedback or advice, it would be appreciated, that's for sure. So let's get into it. I'm going to go through just some of the anxieties, things I don't know, things I wish I knew, all that sort of thing. Half of them are sort of gear and electrical. The other half are more technique, right? And then at the end, I'm going to talk about generally my plan and sort of how I've been approaching practice the last few weeks. So let's get into it. Before I start, those of you who support me on Patreon, you already got access. I just made these. These are my 2 most recent PDFs. This one is the cage chord shapes. This is something I have neglected learning until now, and I kind of made this diagram to help you out. This next one, I don't have a lesson for it yet, but this is the major scale positions and how they relate to cage. So the first page gives you a sort of diagram. The second page and the second, third, fourth, fifth page goes through each scale position one by one, or each chord shape, and shows you the major scale as they pertain to that. So basically, I'm using this as a reference as I practice stuff. So again, thanks for all of you who are supporting me. But let's get into some of these things that I don't know and talk about that sort of thing. So starting with, let's start with technique, because I have lots of things I can do very satisfyingly on my acoustic. The first thing I'm going to talk about here is string noise. Now, this is something that I've never really thought about on the acoustic, but playing this, if I'm doing something like a scale even, right? It's really intimidating to play when I'm recording here. It's like someone watching you drive for the first time. That noise right there, you can sort of hear these empty strings ringing or these open strings ringing. So this is something that has plagued me with a lot of what I've been practicing, is like the strings you're not playing are making noise through the amp. And it's like maddening. It's like it shouldn't be doing that. It doesn't sound like that when my heroes play guitar. So this is something that through a lot of Googling, I'm realizing there's a technique thing as far as muting the strings. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert in this, but the whole string noise aspect is something I had no idea about. And I'm starting to realize that even in playing the major scale, something like, muting the thinner strings when you're playing the thicker strings. And then when you get to the thinner strings, kind of muting, the bassier one. So there's a lot of technique with muting I never really was aware of. So that's one really big thing that really caught me off guard. The other thing is pushing down too hard. I didn't realize this, but the first day I got this, I'm playing some chords and I'm playing an A major bar chord, right? And I'm like, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound in tune. And I'm like, what the hell? And I tune my guitar and it looks all right, but then I play and I'm like, what is going on? And it turns out that I am pushing down. My default strength for pushing down is apparently way harder than it needs to be. Because if you take any note and I push down just hard enough to get that note, to me, I'm pushing down super light right now, but if I push down harder, light, hard, light, hard. And again, I started Googling this and I'm realizing, you don't want to push down any harder than you need to. So now I'm like, crap, I need to sort of pay attention to that with everything I play, because I'm just really pushing down too hard as my default, right? So that's something with technique that I'm sort of getting used to here, and I want to just sort of take inventory of. The next thing is there's so many more frets on this thing, man, it's crazy. My acoustic, I'm used to maybe never really going above if I'm playing an E up here, 7th and 9th fret, maybe I'll do that sort of riff on 9th and 12th fret. That's the highest I would ever go on an acoustic. But now it's you have all these frets And in a way, it's great, but it also is super intimidating. Partially because I feel like I'm not using as much of the guitar as I should be. And I also don't know, like, should I, when I'm doing my scales, do I need to practice them up here, like on the 15th fret? Because you can play them technically, but I'm noticing the technique is different. Like I have to bend my arm in more, and I don't know. Like, should I be worrying about that, or is it not really a thing? So that's another big shocker. Is just like there's so much more guitar. My acoustic does not have a cutaway, so I'm just not used to this. All right, let's get to the next one here. My playing doesn't sound as good as normal. So what I mean by that is there are certain techniques I can do in an acoustic, which when I play in an electric, it just don't like sound as satisfying. I mean, I just did some open chord strumming. But what this has made me realize is like all the bag of tricks I have for acoustic, a lot of them just like, I don't know if it's the action of the strings or whatever, but it just feels different and it doesn't satisfy me in the same way. And that took a lot of wind out of my sails, because all these things that I love about the acoustic, it's like doing them on here just doesn't feel as good. Maybe I'm not used to the guitar yet. That's probably it. Maybe it's just the way that the strings are electrified instead of acoustified and all that sort of thing. But in general, it's like, man, all the things that brought me music pleasure with that don't necessarily translate with this one-to-one. So that was a big sort of technique blow. But I've sort of, after the first couple days, I'm less worried about that, and now I'm focusing on the things that I want to get better at, like lead guitar, which you can kind of do in the acoustic for sure, but I'm really enjoying using the amp and backing tracks and stuff. So I've gotten past this one, but I wanted to take note of that certain techniques don't sound as good. The next one is like just little things with when I'm playing scales, and I have like a backing track on, and I'm playing, say, I'm noticing that the thinner strings sound a lot brighter and bigger and louder than the bassier strings, especially if I put my backing track on here, right? That's not as like satisfying to me as just those, I don't know, those more treble strings sound brighter or sound more satisfying. I don't know if it's the guitar settings. I don't know if it's the amp settings, but it's one of those things where those richer, bassier notes aren't as satisfying. And I don't know, like, is that an amp problem? Is it a tone problem? All these knobs and everything. So that's another thing too, is like you have something you want to play, and then when you plug it in and turn up your amp, it's like these things, certain things just don't sound as good as they should, even if I'm playing them what I think is properly. So that's one big technique thing I wanted to talk about there. Now let's talk about some gear stuff, because the gear stuff has really confused the hell out of me. Okay, the reason I got into acoustic in the first place 20 years ago was like I like the idea of controlling the sound. There's no batteries. It's just all like, not organic, but it's coming from that acoustic thing. And I don't like the idea of relying on electricity, and there's just all these abstractions now, right? So there's like these knobs on the guitar. This is the volume, I know that one. There's this one, I don't even know what you'd call that. I mean, tone or something, right? I mean, so I can hear the difference, but I don't know like what's good, what's bad. Like, should I be in the middle? It's all these things I don't know, and it's like not knowing what's good, what's bad, where things should be. Kind of gave me some big anxiety at first. Anxiety is not the right word, just filled me with doubt and everything. Now, again, a lot of these things I've kind of gotten over, and I'll talk about this in a minute, like how I've gotten over some of these sort of roadblocks. But that's one thing. The other thing is the amp itself. Now, I got this amp. It's a Boss, I think it's MK250 or something like that. I have it on the screen here. There's all these knobs, right? There's the volume, and there's the bass and treble, and then there's master, and then there's effects, and then there's the power, like how many watts or whatever do I need, and what's the order? I don't know. It's like, am I going to hurt things if the volume's too high? What about the volume on here? I don't know. There's all these things I just don't know, and it scares me about electricity, because when you plug in something in the wrong order or whatever, and you hear that loud like crackle, it's like it sounds bad. I don't want to blow out my amp. I don't want to break my guitar. I don't even know if you can blow out your amp or break your guitar, but not knowing is causing like the sort of anxiety. I kind of wish I could just have someone walk through and give me that quick once over of like, here's what you need to worry about, here's what you don't need to worry about, here's what's all good, here's the one thing to never do. The quick sort of takeaway I've picked up so far is like, turn down your volume when you're not playing. I saw this in the video, and it was very helpful to know when I'm done playing, especially when I'm done playing the guitar, turn it down, go near the amp. I'm scared of feedback. The whole feedback thing terrifies me as well. Turn it down, turn it off, right? And that way when you turn it back on, at the very least, even if that's maxed out, if your guitar is off, it seems like that's putting you in a good spot, I think. That's just my sort of few weeks in observation. And this is also made worse with a looper pedal. The looper pedal is great, but it's another thing. There's all these buttons on it. It's not really user-friendly. And the guitar goes in the looper pedal goes in the amp. I've kind of worked out like what to do, reading the instruction manual again. But again, all these things with process and order just stressed me out, right? And the first few days especially of practicing were very, very stressful. Same with the looper pedal, like relying on batteries versus wall power. I'm reading different things, looking online about different pickup cables, and you want mono but not stereo. And I'm like, crap, did I buy the wrong cables and all that stuff? So that's one big thing that stressed me out. What else? Gear and electrical. Fear of blowing out the amp, I already talked about that. Yeah, and just as things stack, as you use an amp and a looper pedal and a guitar, and then like you have your track on your looper pedal going, how high should the volume be, and all that sort of thing. Why does my looper track not sound as good and rich? People on YouTube make it look effortless, right? And that's kind of the whole thing here. So I think that sums up the gear and electrical woes that I'm having. Now I want to really quick talk about my plan and how I'm approaching moving through all this unknown stuff. One is just spend time playing. Even if it's a few minutes a day, pick this thing up and play with it. And go towards what sounds good, right? Because watching all the YouTube videos in the world is not going to take me where I need to go. I need to get some reps in just holding this thing and having some fun times with it, right? So that's for sure. Number two is spending some time researching. Watch my favorite teachers on YouTube, looking up what like Justin says and what Marty says and what Sean Daniel says and then what all these folks say. And, as I'm into a certain technique, like arpeggios, it's like, oh, I can look up what these folks say about those. And I'm discovering all these new YouTubers who do electrical stuff I never even known about before. So I'm kind of, making sure I pick up the guitar, making sure I keep track of these questions, but don't let them slow me down. Don't let them make me scared about jumping in, right? I'm trying not to focus on everything at the same time. An example is if I'm learning scales, right? And I'm noticing that the strings are making that weird that buzzing sound. And maybe my looper pedal's involved or whatever. It's like I should just focus on what's the main thing I'm focusing on. It's my scale, not making mistakes with this or working on my pinky or something. I'm trying to just focus on that and not worry about the ringing strings for now, right? Because if I try to focus, hey, don't let your strings ring and make sure your tone is good and don't push down too hard and make sure your looper sounds good. If I'm worrying about all those at once, it's going to make me crazy and I don't want to go crazy. So trying to focus on just one thing at a time. With that, though, is I'm trying to make sure I don't neglect anything for too long. When I first started playing guitar, I didn't use my pinky. I didn't like it. It was weak. And I was like, I'm just going to learn everything without my pinky. And for like a few weeks, I was pretty impressively stubborn. But then I got to the point where I need to bring the pinky into the fold here. So I'm trying to make sure I don't neglect something too long, whether it's the open string or the string ringing or any of that stuff. So that's one big thing. And the last thing is not expecting there to be a linear path, right? I'm just trying to have in my head what I want to do. Like right now, I want to play 14 Gears by Midland and just play that lead guitar in the background. If I could do what that guy's doing, I would be happy. And that reminds me of learning acoustic back in the day. If I could sing Cat Stevens or Dave Matthews and play along, I would be happy. So it's have those sort of those holy grail things on top of the hill, march towards them, and understand that your path is going to be zigzagging. It's not going to be a straight line, and that's okay. So I'm keeping track of the things I wish I could do, and then just going through things stage by stage. And in my videos that I'll be making from time to time, as I learn electric, you'll be sort of getting wind of what I'm learning, whether it's scales or arpeggios or learning cage or any of that stuff. So I think that really sums up things so far. Again, I just wanted to make this video to explain to y'all where I'm at and capture some of these things that I have anxiety about or fear or doubt or just the things that I'm at level 1 where I didn't even know there was a level there at all. So again, my goal is to keep at it, keep a good attitude, and just follow the love for music, which I'm fortunate enough to have so many things I wish I could play, and I'm excited to learn that I'm already having a blast. Just a couple days of really spending time with this every day. So that's where I'm at. I got this a few weeks ago again, and I'm excited for the days, weeks, months, and years to come with this thing. And I just again want to capture this and show you all where I'm at a few weeks in, and I've said that a couple times now. So thanks all for watching. Check out my rest of my videos and obviously my website, playsongnotes.com. All my stuff's there. Thanks to all of you who support me on Patreon. I hope you're digging the PDFs and chord sheets and all that sort of thing. So I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.